What up, dude? What's up? What up, though, y'all? Hmm? What can I say? You know? Huh? Check it out, y'all. All about y'all. Now, I ain't doing any kind of rendition of Moesha Brandy or that TV show of hers that was more of a comedy, you know? Yeah, but then you see what the present social media broadcast of video is all about, you know? Then I'm gonna have to get my beauty rest sometime soon enough, with or without, you know, fine feline, representing the opposite sex of a born and raised female person, but then nevertheless of a woman. Cause homie ain't going out like that otherwise, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. No can do, you know? Yeah, you know, you like mislabeling me like some kind of a male character, like other likes of, you know, HW and JE. I know y'all right about now saying, oh, who might that be? You know, HW, Harvey Weinstein, or JE, Jeffrey Epstein, or JWG, or JD for that matter. And who might they be? You know, JWG, John Wayne Gacy, or JD, Jeffrey Dahmer, or RSP, Richard Speck. You know that white boy, otherwise, among the likes of his kind. You know, he had bumped off all those nurses back during the 60s. Well, that is all that is most of them is what I mean to say, with the exception of one. You know, that was the one he snatched the panties from, you know, and then went head hunting for the other nurses. No, not for the medical facility premises properties, you know, over there on the west side of Chirac, Al Capone town, the Windy City, but right on the south side, though they have similar so names, you know, whereas one hospital for vicinity area in one direction was supposed to be called, and it still is, for that being the University of Illinois Chicago, and the other one out south is for the University of Chicago. And as that had happened, that unfortunate incident back during the Revolutionary '60s, you know, I was nothing more than quite a youngster back then. So, yeah, give or take. Oh, you that old? Age ain't nothing but a number, provided that you know, don't cross the line, like Johnny Cash would say. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I believe in being on the outside looking in, not on the inside looking out. If you know what I mean, read between the lines, fill in the blanks. Like I said before, so I said again, homie ain't going out like that, you know. Then each and every one of you persons, be my social media family, of any subscribers or visitors to that being of my own social media channel and or chat room and comment section, you better appreciate how at this late hour that I had thought to go about, you know, composing, producing, or manufacturing, or making this present particular social media broadcast or video at this late hour, because it's way past my bedtime. As I mentioned in the footnotes, if not likewise, in the intro. To begin with, you know. And as this one proverbial neighbor from damn hell, he be usually attempting to throw a monkey wrench in the program when it comes to my person trying to get my beauty rest. You know, same neighbor from damn hell among the dime a dozen public nuisances of problem neighbors who had managed to pull the wool over real estate management personnel representatives' eyes for the downstairs business office that one shares with one of some such shares with one other crew member, team member, or with some such others. Well, some is like staff personnel. The representative other is like the others like maintenance personnel. You know, but they all, subordinates of a real estate business company. You know, and whereas this one particular neighbor from damn hell pulled the wool over the eyes of this one in particular. And whereas from there, I'm being given the walking papers of a paperwork document of an eviction notice that this one proverbial neighbor from damn hell should have received, the same one that be giving me the business upon a daily and nightly basis, and be attempting to trash me in one regard and another, from attempting to drive me completely bonkers to attempting to drive me out of house and home. And whereas in the process, he causes me to become subject to experiencing mental anguish or physical trauma likewise, and that's including, attempting to throw a monkey wrench in my sleeping patterns. And as once again lately, I suspect that he or now the neighbor from hell could be a she, because I'm hearing the same noises coming from the same units atmosphere, place rather than apartment, although I had been informed by the very real estate personnel representative that had given me this eviction notice that there's a new tenant in what is supposedly his old unit of a place rather than apartment, but yet I'm still hearing the same ridiculously extreme and excessive ignorant noises. That's not the half word. Ignorant and insane or stupid and sick. Not to mention implied or rude noises of different sorts or types coming from that same unit atmosphere of a place rather than an apartment close by. And whereas, lately I've been finding myself once again, it start up and then it stop and then start up again, going back and forth, like and still all the same on a regular basis, different 2-cent power plays, from making all that racket to creeping. Then make racket again, then creep again, back and forth, back and forth. Talk about like a ping pong match. Ping, 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 ping. Yeah. Making extreme excessive noises of bumping and stomping, and dropping things on the floors and dragging things across the floors and bouncing things off the walls and ceilings and banging on the pipes. The whole 9 yards. And very minute, I'm like, hey, could you tone it down if not cut it out altogether? He drops a dime on me, like out of retaliation for the resentment he himself had developed for how my person had complained about him to the management more than quite a few times, as well as I had, stated my grievances with the police about him a number of times, and so he calls himself getting back at me by flipping the script and have me get the walking papers of eviction notice that he should have received. Whereas when I called it in, the management take their own sweet time about seeing about what I'm trying to let them know about this joker. But when he calls in, they like, snap, crack on, pop, he like he got like that, where they investigate, they had to investigate his supposed so-called complaint about me or complaints, more with him having accomplices in crime, helping him do his dirty work to attempt to make it seem like his argument is legit compared to mine, Yeah. And Wes, I'm like telling this one real estate personnel representative, not that this here particular social media broadcast of video is supposed to be about what I had explained to y'all and cover a few past, ones of this nature, because this is supposed to be of a different subject matter, and I will get to that shortly. But to bring it all to a conclusion, this particular one, or the nip it in the bud, or the speed dial, that the conclusion of these matters. And whereas, as I think of it with that in my mind, since I backtrack here with no purpose of being on, so I can go on to following to continue for where and when that my person at last left off, so I can finish up as in complete a form period prior line thought on this saying. So word or the last mention. And whereas as I'm explaining to the management real estate personnel representative about him, and whereas this person is saying, well, I have gotten complaints about you, more than quite a few from others, and whereas so therefore, I'm outnumbered with supposed so-called complaints of theirs against me, whereas I don't have much of any witnesses unless I were to be able to that much more yeah, you know what I'm saying? But from there I'm like saying, well, if they can't hear that there's any other neighbors or resident or tenants upon his floor, they can't hear all that racket, then they themselves have to be either completely or entirely deaf, or they have to be some kind sort of types or whatever I said. Excuse, pardon, or forgive me for butchering the English language of the American dialect, possibly for the umpteenth time, but I'm not saying, either they have to be deaf or they have to be accomplices in crime of his. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way to explain it. Then nevertheless, I'm like having to go anyway. I'm having to move because he could have possibly that. Well, say no, that's not the half of it. He probably had them at the very minute. I'm like had one another, whoever, and how many times one of the different real estate personnel representatives or maintenance personnel, for that matter, to check it out in place of real estate management personnel rep, one of their superiors, and one of their subordinates, and they're listening outside my apartment door with me ranting and raving about him. Hey, could you cut it down? MF, SOB, blah, 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 blah. Man, I would F you up, man. You're like, oh no, that would never do. We got to get him out of here. And whereas they want to cut corners to resolve the issue for what they consider to be in their favor, in their better interest, as real estate management personnel representative, whereas they figure that, well, if we were to, if it is like he said about this one proverbial name from hell, problem, if we were to get on him and bounce him from the building, then some or such of his friends, being of his accomplices in crime, they could possibly get offended or get resentment for how one of their homies got kicked out of the building, and that would mean more of a loss of money, if his homies of accomplices in crime were to leave, in support of this proverbial neighbor from hell, public nuisance, or problem, if he would be kicked out. And so the real estate management personnel representative is looking in another direction to resolve the issue. And I can imagine saying, well, in regard to or reference to how they could possibly, probably, well, you know what I'm saying, were thinking about me. So I say as a figure of speech for the sake of argument, and then some, they say, well, he's only one person, so we won't lose so much money if we just, you know, give him his walking papers and get on up out of here. So that's where I'm at now, you know. Yeah. Whereas now I have to find me another place of residence, an apartment vacancy before the deadline when I am to be kicked to the curb with or without my personal effects, belongings, or possessions. Whereas I'm just trying to bide my time until the appointed scheduled date, you know, whereas I'm having to try to save up as much money to, you know, not only move my personal effects, belongings, or possessions, then to have it all thrown out in the streets and all over the sidewalk or tossed in the dumpster or whatever. But also, I had to save up money to pay rent elsewhere for a new digs or a new pad of a place of residence, a unit atmosphere apartment, you know. And all the while, I'm having to take care of necessary business at hand, not only before the deadline, but also so that I won't become or be homeless, you know. And so much for that conversation. Moving right along, you know, and as I go about speed dialing some of such other, if I had not asked you all the question of how you all are doing before, so I asked you now. And if I did before this, no harm repeated. So how are you all doing, my social media family? Have any subscribers as well as any visitors to that, being on my own immediate personal social media channel and or chat room comment section? Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay. If not, better yet, to be said, to be feeling all right. If not, best of all, to be said, to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You know, you and yours, family and friends, and hopefully me and mine likewise as well are all the same. You know. And now that I have gotten the preliminaries out the way, you know, and being a basic intro as well as, you know, etc. As I had explained to y'all, you know, informative persons from why y'all used to appreciate this here present, this particular present social media broadcast videos, seeing how I'm producing at a rather late hour. And whereas the neighbor from hell, a public problem neighbor, has caused me from time to time to lose sleep through a monkey wrench in my sleeping patterns. But anyway, though, moving right along, you know. And now that I've gotten the preliminaries out the way, and as you all have noticed, the name title to this one particular present social media broadcast or video. So I say to y'all, my social media family subscribers and visitors, you know, to my social media channel and our chat room conversation, how I myself personally, I prefer mainly or mostly as the present given on time when it comes to members of the opposite sex, you know, being of whom are affiliated or associated with and are representing born and raised female persons, but then nevertheless a woman being of whatsoever races and likewise as well as saying whatever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences, being of whom are still into males of the opposite sex, whereas I myself particularly as a present given moment in time mainly or mostly favor those being a born and raised female persons or woman being of the Asian persuasion, where the second run up to them could possibly could possibly be of Latin or Hispanic sisters. Non-white woman, but then I will consider women of other races all the same, including a white woman, black sisters, white girls, Caucasian women, black sisters, etc. But that's where I'm at the present, when it comes to dating, if and when I could, dust off my musty, dusty rap or lingo or conversation of dialogue, but then business before pleasure, as I'm pressed for time to find me, a new pad, my next new pad, so I don't be out of doors of the rank and file, the racial percentiles or statistical percentages of the derelict transients, as in to be translated to be defined as meaning homeless, But then all work and no play make Jack a dull boy, But then seeing how I'm trying to get right with God as a believer, I can't necessarily, when it comes to dating, female persons or women of the opposite sex, I can't be like thinking so much as in line of thought of lust compared to romance. You hear what I'm saying? And be it choking the chicken, what about the blow? Oh yeah, that was good. That was great. 2, how much less would I be out here? Or if I would, be thinking about getting me some from a woman, most certainly, definitely, it can't be of the likes where it's my person as a male representing the opposite sex could possibly, practically or possibly, could. That is, I say as a matter of fact, speech for the sake of argument, not that that's about to happen, but it can't be whereas I practically and or possibly contemplate becoming, somebody of the likes of a male character, one of those being a werewolves, scoping, stalking, and vamping upon or preying upon not only Little Red Riding Hood, but even so, her mom and her grandma and her aunt, Whereas this one thing, one of them critters, Boo Boo the fool, loser, freaking idiot, jerks of sickles, not necessarily of sickles or cycles, not necessarily El Stupidos. Because if they could pull the wool over the eyes of their female victims, then they had to have some kind of, plan of action of their thoughts to go about composing that of a means to meet their prey off at the pass, as they say, as they would be scoping, stalking, and vamping or preying upon much rather than instead prey with, to snatch the panties. And as those critters or animals or monsters, most effective way to do so, being of some of such the lowest of scumbags, of loser freaking idiot jerks, is to come at their prey from behind or in back of them, so they can get jiggy with it. Especially doggy style and spread eagle style. Once they, acquire the means of, going about getting the element of surprise to work to their advantage and to the disadvantage of, the females or women and girls that they want to get jiggy with it, make them an offer that they can't refuse them. Even so, it's, the likes of them, of other ones among them, be, restrictively reserving themselves for underage male minors or boys, you know what I'm saying? Those gay pedophile Catholic priests and gay pedophile Catholic priest wannabes. Not that all Catholic priests are like that, but I think you all get the general idea of what I'm trying to say, But homie ain't going out like that. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. If you look at it from one point of view, no, I never snatched any panties, But at one time or another, I was confused with a panty snatcher. But somebody up there must have liked me, I'm talking about God, I know the neighbor from damn hell dislikes or hate me out of his twisted, warped, wicked mindset, Whereas this one lives above my apartment, the one that I had before this joker, at another building address location I lived at as a tenant before I moved here, had lived, rather the one before the last, the last one before this one also lived up above me in another apartment above that I'm on, where the one before this one and the one being the last one before this one, and the one being the one before the last one and before this one is what I meant to say. Correction, had lived in one unit of a place rather than an apartment below that of my own, but was carrying on with the same old. It's like I got a big old poster on my back saying every Tom, Dick, and Harry of a crackpot or crank, not necessarily an idiot. I mean, after all, this particular joker has managed to pull the wool over the eyes of the management to get me kicked to the curb, bounced up out of here with paperwork, document, walking papers, eviction notice that oneself should have received. But then I did say so much for that conversation. So let me get back to some of such other. Yeah. So anyway, though, I just thought to share this all with you all, the present social media broadcast of video. And here it is, like, man, going on 3 in the morning, practically. It was 2 something, a little after 2:30, going on 3. It pretty soon, in another half an hour, give or take, it'd be 3 o'clock in the morning, and my bedtime hour is 11 o'clock p.m. Regardless of a neighbor from damn hell attempting to, throw a monkey wrench in that program, likewise as well, all the same, Yeah. Then shortly after, for that last minute, I'm about to wrap this up so I can get my beauty rest, You know what I'm saying? And resume the business at hand, so far as apartment searching and then some. I would have had something like, like say 1/3 of a calendar year to search for apartments if, the housing agency or housing organization wasn't dragging their, to send some such other sort of type of moving papers, where they help low income residents within city and suburban limits and rural township limits, for that matter, to make annual monthly rental assistance payments where they pay part of the rent, and the recipient or participant in their program that's a part of a housing agency or housing that's the recipient participant, will pay the other part, Yeah. And they took some like, a couple few or 2 or 3 weeks or so to finally send me, some of such what they would call a housing voucher or apartment voucher. In that same line, I thought it since the word being the said in question of the former previous prime minister. So that took time away from me looking for an apartment soon enough, because it would do really no good for me to be looking for an apartment before I would have received, that paperwork documents that would say I'm good for a certain size of apartment where I could present it to a prospective next or new future landlord and say, "Here's my paperwork. So let's get the ball rolling. Let's get the show on the road. Let's finally I got it now." So it took me about something like from 2 weeks or from 2 to 3, few weeks to practically a month for a time frame period for me to receive this here paperwork document so I could, you know, get to going about the necessary business at hand of apartment searches so that I could establish rapport to go about negotiating a business transaction with a future prospective landlord, Not that I would mean to get back into that because this here is supposed to be of a different subject matter, or well, whatever the subject matter or type of discussion to be debated, But that is some of such given on time, or that for a given argument with the many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and represented thereof, So, any of you ladies, I just want y'all to know I'm available, or whatever races you be. You ladies are born and raised female person representing opposite sex, but then let us a grown adult woman. Whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences, who are still into males representing the opposite sex, but especially as, I am mainly or mostly attracted to Asian and Latin or Hispanic women, although I will date other races of women outside those two races I mentioned, And that's including white girls as in Caucasian women and black sisters. Just alone, none of them white girls are other likes of closet Karens or closet KKK and closet neo-Nazi kind of, what you call it, I'm still reflecting upon how it took something like a century for, our own U.S. government via that of a president-elect or president of the USA to sign a bill into law to make lynching a felony, and as it was, named, or as they called it, the Emmett Till anti-lynching law, those had to be some animals or monsters, to have murdered or killed a underage male minor like that. And I hear tell that, that they supposed to have raped or molested him in the process. That's what I heard, and others, they would agree compared to how there's still others that can differ. But that's what I heard. The second or third party, they supposed that had done some freaky things with that boy, before they had, imagine that, taking advantage of a child. It just get me thinking about this one Bruce Willis movie I was watching most recently, called by its name title of Sin City. Like Bruce Lee was playing did I say Bruce Lee? I mean Bruce. Well, sorry about that. It's you all can see it's a rather late hour for me to, my words to be like, tumbling over each other. But anyway, Bruce Willis was playing a part of a superhero, was rescuing this here one underage female minor from some monster animals that wanted to do some freaky things with her, Yeah. And so much for that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm about to wrap it up. It is what it is, as I would usually, go about for any of my social media broadcasts or videos or whatever one wants to make it. Well, hopefully most I have given the intro and the footnotes to accompany some, so to go along with some such that. And regardless of whether I were to speak upon one or a couple few or four more subject matters or type of discussions to be debated or given arguments with many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing their it all depends on how I will feel at some given moment in time, Regardless, though, don't kill the messenger. I'm just here to deliver. And so far, well, I have given you all the preliminary basic intro and the footnotes and, spoke upon at least one or a couple few possibly subject matters. Well, mainly or mostly what this here present social media broadcast video is about. And now, last but not least, I will give the closing. And hopefully most or half or at least 1/3 or from half, or rather from 1/3 to half to most, if not all of my social media broadcasts I have given, from the basic preliminaries of an intro as an introduction, then spoke upon at least one subject matter or type of discussion or given argument, type of discussion to be debated, or given argument with many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing thereof, and then last but not least, give the closing, and whereas I would usually say, so I paraphrase and not quote exactly, and that is by saying, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, but recognize and realize what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of gold, suffering at the hands of some Roman soldiers up on the orders of their religious superiors, and as well as any other superior, from centurion of Caesar to Pharisees and Sadducees, but then nevertheless, was he went to that cross of Calvary to become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. Don't steal my trademark, you all. So that if any of us being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, faction, of society, lifestyle preferences, being of the old and young, like both two sexes within the male and female, representing not only the human species, but the global community within this post 911 era of a new millennium apocalyptic day and age, where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes of midnight compared on our phone period prior to then was a quarter midnight. For the rather biblically profess time, where to profess some of faith in them. From there we become blessed in one regard or another. More is one. First and foremost, with this salvation being which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven. The second of all, with his deliverance. But first you have got to get his salvation, otherwise you got nothing coming so far as blessing is concerned. And if you leave this world without that blood sacrifice of his insurance policy for the lake of fire down hell, then your final destination will be there to be burning with the rest of the unsaved, lost down human souls of unbelievers, to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and the demon forever, compared to how we as believers in God would be across that great divide that separates heaven from hell, in the company of God and his angels, as well as we'll be likewise in the presence of fellow believers. Y'all take care and be blessed. We out. Peace.